This is Chapter 2, the Investigator's Office and Laboratory. You'll see that there's no virtual lab out here for this because there's no tools. They're just talking about configuration and some certification information. Now, objectives: describe the certification requirements for a digital forensics lab, list the physical requirements for a digital forensics lab, explain the criteria for selecting a basic forensics workstation, describe components used to build a business case for developing a forensics lab. Sometimes that's a challenge. You'd like to think they're going to give you money, but does Wellington, for example, have money for a forensics lab?
Money.
What?
Wellington has money.
Yeah, they have money, but do they have money for a lab? Probably not. And so you'd have to make a case for it, wouldn't you?
Right.
You'd have to indicate, hey, we have 10 pedophilia cases every month. We definitely need to have a lab so we can investigate these and so forth. Now, understanding the lab certification requirements, your digital forensics lab is where you conduct your investigation. You store evidence, house your equipment, hardware, and software. So when you're designing this, you have to think about, what kind of elements would you need in the lab? What do you think would be important before we really talk about it?
What would be really important about the lab?
Right. What would be, if we were to put a lab in here, assuming we were law enforcement of some sort?
Like the importance of the lab would be that we would help it put away.
Right. So from a design standpoint, what would you do?
I'd probably go all out.
And do what?
Just get the top equipment.
Top equipment?
Because there's 10 pedophiles being cranked out a month. So we gotta really crack down on those.
But how about from a structure standpoint? Locked doors?
More than that.
That'd be a start though, right?
Yeah.
What else?
Probably keypad.
Keypad?
You enter 6-digit code.
Could be. Keypad, you can watch over somebody's shoulder and get the number.
That's why I say change every week.
Still can see it. If you watch somebody, you could then sign in later in the day.
Retinal scan.
Retinal scan. If I know you're going to have a case against me, you got to make it pretty hard for me to break in and destroy the evidence, right?
I'd probably do key card access.
Maybe key card access?
And then I'd probably do what they do here with the servers where they don't let anybody in, just select view.
Right.
So everybody who was allowed in, only the higher ups would have access to the server. You keep stored data and that evidence, that set evidence, in an evidence locker. It would also be either padlocked and only one person had a key, or something along those lines.
How about Windows?
Probably no Windows.
Probably no Windows?
No Windows for that, for the server or anything.
Yeah. Carpeting?
No, because they use slide and match.
Yeah. You give me a window, if I'm facing 10 years, you give me a window I can bust out in some form, even if it's reinforced. I'm going to bust it out. I'll throw gasoline through the window. And I'll set it on fire. Yeah. Yeah, so, there's things you have to consider because, these are cases that people are going away for quite a while. And what would you do so you wouldn't have to spend 10 years in jail? I don't know what typical um, sentence is, but yeah, a lot of different things you have to consider. Um, Again, where you conduct your investigation is right within that lab. Got to figure, like you indicated, how to store it, and then how do you house all the equipment, hardware, and software. Would it be connected to the internet, you think?
That's a good question.
If you connect to the internet, could I hack in and destroy evidence?
I'll go secure enough.
Is anything secure enough? I wonder if any place has ever never been hacked into. FBI has been, right? CIA. I don't know if the NSA has ever been hacked into or not. You think they have quite a few?
I guarantee you, if they've been hacked, they would probably keep them confidential.
NSA hacked into news. There's a Euro News, not that they're necessarily reliable. Just over a year ago, hackers got into the NSA.
So this is on the side note, like I'm doing lab 2 while we're doing this. I need to rename the computer, and it won't let me because the identification of the computer cannot be changed because the certification authority service is installed on this computer. Do you want me to just proceed along and not name it?
Yeah. Yeah, so probably any place has been hacked into, right? ANSI, ASQ, National Accreditation Board, ANAB, provides accreditation of crime and forensics labs worldwide. Accreditation includes forensics labs that analyze digital evidence, audits lab functions and procedures. If you go to court, your lab has to have some kind of credibility. Just something you've thrown together in the back closet, well, then it doesn't have that credibility and could be thrown out. Now, identifying duties of the lab manager and staff, and you might find that the lab manager and staff are one and the same. Your forensics lab might be one person. They might be doing other duties and then doing a little bit of that. But they set up processes for managing cases. So again, they outline what do they need to do. You know, when you got somebody has committed some kind of cyber crime, you know, what are the steps you do? Promote group consensus and decision making. Maintain fiscal responsibility for lab needs. You know, it'd be nice to send your information off to a external lab that has more equipment, but you know, you got a limited budget. Enforce ethical standards among lab staff members. Might be tempting to falsify data, but again, making sure everybody has the highest ethics. Plan updates for the lab. Establish and promote quality assurance processes. Set reasonable production schedules, and estimate how many cases an investigator can handle. Estimate when to expect preliminary and final results. Create and monitor lab policies for staff. Provide a safe and secure workplace for staff and evidence. Now, your staff member duties, they need to have the knowledge of training. They're the ones actually doing it. So they need to know about the hardware and how to run software, operating system and file types, deductive reasoning. In terms of knowledge and training, how in depth does it need to be for a staff member?
Really depends on the job.
Depends on the job.
There taking care of all the equipment and stuff, they have to know.
Know quite a bit, don't they? Or at least have access to a database of some sort of this information. Let's see, what are the emails I got last night or yesterday, just in general. One person is trying to do their C programming on a Mac, and it's not working. Works fine on my Mac. Do I have to have quite a bit of knowledge to help them figure out why it's not working on theirs? Probably, or access Google, and hopefully I get lucky. I don't have that knowledge. See, that's the problem. When they said the issue they're having, I thought, well, I'll install the software myself and try it. Installed it, worked fine. So at that point, I don't know what to do because my knowledge is minimal on it. One of the students at one of the high schools is trying to connect via Zoom, and it's not connecting. Says, I forget what message they indicated. And I'm stuck on that one. It's like, I've never seen Zoom not work. So, when you're bringing in suspects' computers and examining their evidence and so forth, you have to know quite a bit, don't you? They may have Windows 3.1, they may have Windows XP, they may have Windows 10, may have Macs, may have Chromebook. So, you have to have a pretty good knowledge base or, again, ability to research. Deductive reasoning. It's amazing how many people go into computer science don't have that to begin with. They'll email me and saying, and I'm not real harsh about it, like when I know it's their first class, and so forth. But if you get an error, what should you be doing? Troubleshooting. Yeah, Mr. Hayes, I'm getting this error message. I Googled it, and I looked at these options, and none of them worked. But sometimes when people send me an email, it's just like, well, it's not working. What are you, an art major? Error messages, or what? Exactly. So some people don't have that deductive reasoning, do they? So have to have a pretty good, step by step trying to figure out what's wrong with it. The person who is having trouble with their Mac, running that C compiler, of course, step one for me, install it on my own Mac, see if it works. It did. Step two, I emailed them to set up a Zoom session last night. They didn't respond back, so maybe Thursday night. And then I'll watch them do it to see if there's something obvious that they're doing. And I don't know what step three is. Buy a Windows machine. Yeah. But these are things you have to figure out. If you're trying to work something with both you go into computer forensics, you're trying to figure out an issue. Well, you should be able to logically think through steps that would make sense for figuring it out. Not every situation you're going to run across is standard. Probably everyone's different as they keep coming with more and more tools and so forth.
We use deductive reasoning to fix my lab. It's completely broken. There's no I'm going through the steps.
Yeah.
And I've done it twice, and it's giving me the same error.
See, the deductive reasoning there is, I'll try it myself. And so then we're on two different machines. Okay. And if it's still doing it, then it's probably they're having issues at Cengage. But that'll be my next step is to contact them because they don't give me any debugging tools. So okay. If it doesn't work, I have nothing to really look at. See, those would be my deductive reasoning on that.
If we can you look at this afterwards?
Mm-hmm. After class. And work is reviewed regularly by the lab manager. And then you check the ANAB website for online manual and information. Now, lab budget planning break costs down into monthly, quarterly, and annual expenses. Everything runs on budgets. You got to say how much you're going to need for the coming year. It's not unlimited. When I worked at Coke, it was unlimited for a while. They started a new department where we came up with tools to help the user. It's called end user computing. And for the software, they just told us go ahead and buy the software, look at it, and see if it's something of value. If it is, we'll implement it. If it's not, then we'll just consider it kind of a write-off, part of the cost of doing business. This is before there was all these free trials. So we bought a lot of software that we just kind of threw away. But most places have a budget. You can't do that. Use past investigation expenses to extrapolate expected future costs. So if you know that type of investigation, you typically runs $1,000. You can plan for the future. Expenses for the lab, hardware, software, facility space, and then training. Though oftentimes training is overlooked. At IFR, limited budget. They bought the hardware, bought the software. We had the facility space. But when it comes to the Oracle training, they threw a book at us and said, "Here, read the book." Book was like $50. Training was about $4,000, and ship, and then flying us out to California or something. So you need to estimate the number of cases your lab expects to examine. If you don't have any kind of idea of the occurrences, then how can you plan? You need 10 people, one person. Identify types of computers you're likely to examine. Take into account changes in technology. You have to keep updating your own equipment. I think there was one software package. It was AutoCAD. I used to teach AutoCAD here at Cali. Drove me crazy because it changed versions every year. So I was trying to teach it online, and I'd have to develop a brand new course each year, and just wasn't feasible. I finally got to the point I didn't want to teach anymore because it was too much work. Some of these packages change constantly because the software keeps changing. The tools that predators and pedophiles and so forth use change. Use statistics to determine what kind of computer crimes more likely to occur. So you go out there and you see where the crime is occurring, and then use this information to plan your lab and the costs. Check statistics from the Uniform Crime Report. This is for federal reports. Uniform Crime Report.
I figured it out.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this just in general talks about crime in the United States. You look at all the different rates that occurring, hate crime, LEOCA. Cargo theft, federal crime. I really haven't gotten into this page to see all the statistics. Robbery table, homicide. Murder victims. That doesn't seem like very much.
4,500 million.
Boy, that's pretty bad when you murder somebody so bad they can't identify the sex anymore.
Yeah, that's
Or I suppose that might include ones that they never find a body, but they declare the person dead. 15,129. Wouldn't you have expected more murders in 2017?
really must have been shot up.
Yeah, I definitely.
Yeah. That's why I keep looking to see if this is in thousands, but 15 million would be too many people murdered. But it didn't seem like very much. Yeah. There's a lot of theft. Looks like it's been going up since 2010. No, I'm lying. 2011. No, it's kind of been going down a little bit there. Up in the last 3 years. I'm just saying cybercrime as a category. Yeah, I could buy about 2 million burglaries each year. Maybe about 1 million vehicle thefts. Anyway, Uniform Crime Report. Identify crimes committed with specialized software. You have to know what they're using to commit the crimes in order to know how to combat it, how to investigate it. When setting up a lab for a private company, check hardware and software inventory, problems reported last year, future developments in computing technology. We obviously probably Wellington can't afford its own computer lab for forensics. Caldwell can't. Mulvane can't. So what do they do then? Go to a private company? Yeah. And that private company actually can then afford these items because they have many, many customers, all these law enforcement. I expect quite a few private companies have popped up over time offering that service just because police department can't afford all that. It gets expensive. Some of these old machines I got in that Purple Wave auction, what department do you think they came out of? Police department.
Oh.
Court. It's like they don't have the best equipment. I'm looking at these i3s, and they're used by the court to, record the reporter or whatever. It's like, geez, they were doing it on this. So yeah, sometimes law enforcement has some rather, and Derby's a fairly large, town, in comparison to like Mulvane or Wellington and so forth. They have some money in that town. Let's see. Setting up a lab for a private company, check hardware and software inventory, problems reported last year, future developments. Time management is a major issue when choosing software and hardware to purchase. Why would that be, do you think? Time management is a major issue when choosing software and hardware to purchase. How many different software products are out there?
There's quite a few.
Quite a few. And so to investigate it and so forth, it takes quite a bit of time, doesn't it?
So
I don't actually waste my time on when I'm deciding software for like these programs. I don't waste my time on it. Of course, I want it to be free to fit our budget here. But then I just go with the most popular one. Just because I don't have time to investigate 5, 10 different software packages trying to figure out which one's best. C programming. I wanted to go to a different compiler, different IDE this time. So instead of using Visual Studio, which a lot of people have trouble installing Visual Studio, so I thought I want to go with a simpler one. But again, the number of C compilers out there is probably free ones, maybe 20. I didn't have time to investigate 20 of them. 4 hours maybe for each product to really look at it in depth. That's 80 hours. So I looked for the most common one, the most popular one, and that was CodeBlocks. Now here, for our hardware, if it's over, I think $2,500, you have to get 3 quotes. I'm still waiting for the 10th laptop for this lab, and the individual that's ordering it explained to me. He said, "Well, we have to get 3 quotes. Sometimes it's not very quick to get these quotes back from the vendors." And he says, then when we got the quotes, the model changed, so we had to get additional quotes, and also they expire. If I think quotes are good for 30, 60 days, I don't remember exactly. And after that period of time, they expire, so then they have to get new quotes. So if it isn't voted on by administration of the college in a timely manner, then you have to get new quotes. So it sounds like, well, why would that be a time management issue? But there's actually quite a bit there. Now, acquiring your certification training, you update your skills to appropriate training, thoroughly research the requirements, cost, and acceptability in your area of employment. You can find some certifications out there that really don't have much meaning. That's what it's indicating. Used to be there's some, I can't remember the name of the website, but they offered certifications. You go out there and you take a test, and then it says you're certified in Java. It says you're certified in JavaScript.
Lynda.
What was it?
Lynda.com. They give you online training, and then you take a test, and then you're certified.
Then you're certified? Yeah, and see those right there, and that's not the one I'm thinking of. Those actually have no meaning when you look at the IT area. It's like, well, I'm certified through Lynda. It's not an industry certification. I forget what the other one was called. Brain something, I think.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a joke among IT. I mean, it's not bad to get the training. It's just a certification really doesn't mean anything. IT Brain Bench. I don't even remember what Brain Bench. Leader in online certification. That sounds like it.
Oh, LinkedIn partnered with Lynda now.
Oh, did they?
Yes, now all of Lynda's courses are on LinkedIn's Insights. Whatever that means. They're on LinkedIn Learning.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that use Brain Bench. Like if they're hiring somebody that they expect you to know JavaScript, how they test whether you know JavaScript is by having you go out there and like take the test for this. I've seen that, but typically that certification doesn't have much meaning.
These ones are all through like actual fields of like Android development, learning Arduino boards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying they're not bad or not good, but they're just. There's one I found. There's a C programming certification. I got mocked by an individual in IT. I said, well, this is one of the things I'm preparing for is this C certification here. And it's like, never heard that certification my entire life. So I kind of backed off really pushing that. But here's from the C++ Institute. They have the C programming language certified associate certification. And I don't think I've ever seen this in any job, or job, posting out there where they want you to have this certification. Let's see. Maybe I'm lying. CLA. Let's go look it up on dice.com. See if anybody wants this certification. Let's put quotes around it. Not a 1. Let me look for CLA. Ah, 3. It's obviously a well sought after certification. Not saying that CLA they're even looking for is a CLD or CLA certification. What do you know? Although that CLA certification may be something else. This doesn't look like anything to do with C programming.
No, clean air engineering.
Was that a clean? Yeah. Yeah. So, again, my idea of that certification was not the brightest thing. Now here they list some of the ones that would be a little bit more meaningful. Certified CFCE. Here it is. So again, these are ones where you actually go job hunting, and these actually mean something if you have them on your resume. I think it was that Brain Bench or whatever it was that you'd have people send in resumes that have like 20 certifications off Brain Bench. And they could have been, one of the best individuals, very well skilled and so forth, but they just didn't mean anything. This talks about the different certification and getting certified, so you can read more about that. International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists, IACIS, created by police officers who want to formalize credentials in digital investigations. Candidates who complete the IACIS test are designed as certified forensics computer examiner. Sometimes you have to have certain requirements to become these. CFCE. Consists of a 2-stage process: peer review, certification testing. Peer review looks like you take 4 practical exams. You got 30 days to complete each problem. You're assigned a coach to guide you through the problem's learning points. Must pass all 4 problems to be eligible to enter certification. Is that probably a very easy problem to figure out then? It's a 4-month test, isn't it? 30 days for each problem. So it's quite a test. And then the certification phase consists of a hard drive practical problem, 30 days complete. Knowledge-based objective test, 14 days complete. Then you go to the knowledge-based test, consists of 100 questions. True, false, matching, short essay, fill in the blanks, all those. Must get an 80% on that. Sounds like a pretty robust test, doesn't it? Of course, what could you do? It's pretty good assumption you're not going away to take this test and they're monitoring you every minute of the day. Somebody could do the work for you, right? But probably if you're in law enforcement, you're not wanting to do that. I suppose if you've got a private company, maybe you might, just so you have that certification. So a little bit of an issue there. I wonder how they ensure the integrity of the process. Yeah, that's not coming up. Or it's slow. Now here we got a CCFP, Certified Cyber Forensics Professional. Requires knowledge of digital forensics, malware analysis, incident response, e-discovery, and other disciplines related to cyber investigations. So let's go look at that one.
I don't need to worry about the other assignments that are on Cengage that aren't listed on Blackboard, right?
No, you don't.
Is there some other things in the grade book that is like counselor for?
No, just whatever you see in Blackboard is the only thing you have to worry about.
Thank you.
This is a CCFP. CCFP is no longer an option, but there are other world-class cyber available. Okay, see all your certifications. So it looks like they retired it. This is kind of the big one here. Certified Information Systems Security Professional. Most esteemed cybersecurity certification in the world. My manager got this certification. Some of you have heard me talk about that before. Candidates must have minimum 5 years cumulative paid full-time work experience in 2 or more of the 8 domains, the body of knowledge. Only a 1-year experience exemption is granted for education. That's one I believe he had to go away for, and couldn't bring any study materials back. There's no study guide for it. You just go off, they train you, and you take the test right there. And then you sign a agreement that you won't share the information of that test. Certified Cloud Professional. See, these are ones, if you're going into computer security, you'd probably want to pick these up. Here's an associate, that's probably the lowest one. It says you can take this certification exam without a minimum work experience. A lot of these, you have to have that work experience in order to take it. And it says if you pass, you need to meet your continuing professional education requirements. They have little classes you got to take online usually, so you don't have to go away from them or anything. Because otherwise, it expires. But again, that would be a good one to get if you're going into at least the 2 areas you're going into. That'd be a good starting one to get. High Tech Crime Network, HTCN. Certified Computer Crime Investigator, Basic and Advanced, and Certified Computer Forensics Technician, Basic and Advanced. In-Case. What's In-Case? Anybody know?
No.
I've just worked with a trial version of In-Case. It's the big tool used. It's costly. In-Case software. So if you're in law enforcement, it's kind of one of the top ones. Gold standard in forensics investigations. So this kind of does everything. But again, not cheap. Trying to see where there's even a buy. Usually when they have a request quote, that means it's pretty expensive. If you're an individual, you probably don't even need to check. I've actually checked in some of those in the past. It's just like it's embarrassing when they send me how much it actually costs. Got an academic program, might be a little bit cheaper. Do they have this up in North Dakota? Or is it South Dakota? South Dakota. Did they say what kind of software they use?
They give you a computer that has all the software on
I know, but are they using this software?
it. They usually don't do computer forensics. They do more. They do actually do more.
Oh, so they don't focus on the law enforcement side at all?
Law enforcement side would only be cyber intelligence and all that stuff. Cyber intelligence and leadership.
So you take a lot of networking classes, learn how to harden the system and so forth?
They do have network defense up there, yes.
Okay. So that part of it, if you're investigating where a company is deficient, you have to tell them how to make themselves such that nobody can break in. So yeah, the two go together. Access data, certified examiner certification. Now, Access Data, I've used different tools of theirs. Open to the public and private sector, specific to use and mastery of Access Data Ultimate Toolkit. Exam has knowledge-based component and practical skills component. And then other training and certifications. EC Council, sysadmin, audit, SANS, Defense Cyber Investigations Training Academy, DCITA. I think I receive weekly emails from SANS. I gotta start looking at some of this. See if Callie send me away to training. Orlando, Florida. Boy, that's annoying as can be. Click it. April 1st to April 8th. A lot of these are such that they send you away for training. And I don't know about this one, but then you take the test at the end to get certified. So it kind of gave you a boot camp. So there's quite a few options there. They notice here these are the ones that lead to certification. Intrusion detection in depth. Looks like the GCIA. I have no clue what that is. Let's see. GIAC Certified Intrusion Analyst. Requirements: 1 proctored exam, 100 to 150 questions, time limit 4 hours. You got to get at least a D. It's not very rigid, but interesting. Other training certifications continued. We got our ISFCE, International Society of Forensics Computer Examiners, Computer Technology Investigators Network, CTIN, Digital Forensics Certification Board, DFCB, Cloud Security Alliance, CSA, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, FLETC, National White Collar Crime Center, NW3C. I'm not sure if I've heard any of those, but then again, I'm not employed in the forensics or never been in the forensics area. Some of these you run across quite a bit. The SANS, you hear a lot about GIAC. Now, looking at the physical requirements for your lab, most of your investigations conducted in the lab. You never sit in the person's home and perform the investigation. You like I say, you shut off their computer, or you seal all the evidence, bring it into your lab, you make copies, and then you start exploring copies. Lab should be secure so evidence is not lost, corrupted, or destroyed. How about if there's a fire in this room? And I had those computers were computers I seized from people in Wellington. And a fire broke out here. What's wrong with this room?
Carpet.
Carpet's one of them. Yeah. Sprinklers. Worst thing in the world. Because they destroy your equipment. Not so bad here. We're insured and so forth. But if you got suspects' computers, then you wouldn't want that. So you want to have the appropriate fire suppression system. At IFR, they had, I forget what it was. I'm not sure if it's Halon or what. But gas would come out in the security room or the server room. So if there's a fire. And all they told us is that if that gas comes out, get out of the room as fast as you can. So I think one student thought maybe that it took all the oxygen out of the room. Because if you take all the oxygen away, then there's no more fire, right? I think there's better chemicals now than Halon. But let's see if that's a true statement. Halon fire suppression systems. Suppression. See, I may be thinking about something else, because this isn't the one that takes the oxygen out. Doesn't look like it. Halon is a liquefied compressed gas that stops the spread of fire by chemically disrupting combustion. Remarkably safe for human exposure. So
Practice lab 1-1, one that we were having issues with Putty. He just gave me 100%.
what if that's one that that individual was talking about?
That,
See, he didn't finish it, and he got 100.
I don't. It says submitted at 8:49. I never submitted it.
Is that good software?
What? Syndicate?
that gives you 100 like that without you finishing it. No. Do you see why it's important that when you're planning a lab, you choose software that's good?
Yeah.
Because if you have ones that act like that in a court case, how in the world can you ever convict anybody? You know, and so that's why it's really got to have a lot of reliability in your software and your hardware and your processes, because there's a lot of bad computer programmers. You know, not everybody graduated top of their class. You got people out there 1 point above a D that are out programming computers, thinking they're doing a good job.
I think they only work in practice. I haven't had any issues with the other, like, the other ones have been fine.
I bet that's one he referred to.
Oh,
Yeah. Because he said, "Yeah, just give me 100."
yeah.
It's like, well,
I just tried to get back into it and reload my state because I did the suspend,
hmm
and I booted up. It says attempts unlimited 100%.
Yeah, interesting. Lab should be secure. Okay, we already talked about that. Provide a safe and secure physical environment. Keep inventory control of your assets. Know when to order more supplies. Again, the reason for a secure facility is should preserve the integrity of the evidence data. Minimum requirements: small room with true floor-to-ceiling walls. Why floor-to-ceiling? Talked about this in some other classes.
I guess anywhere's prone to damage.
Or if it's, ladder. Yeah, yeah. If the door locks, you got the best security on the door. If you can hook up a ladder on the outside in the hallway and just climb over, then
Oh, I remember that.
yeah. Worst thing in the world is if it doesn't go to the ceiling. Now they don't have it. I don't see it listed here, but also your ceiling shouldn't be easy to cut through, right? Because if your ceiling is easy to cut through, somebody just goes up there with a saw, cuts a hole, and drops a rope down there, and they come down in your lab. I was watching they were talking about that El Chapo. Yeah, they're having I think the Mexican Marines breaking into his house to arrest him or whatever. And I don't think they had any clothes on. And they were talking about how they escaped through a hole in the floor that they dug a tunnel out. And they didn't catch them. So yeah, you have to worry about those things, right? Tunneling, and is that a big thing? Well, probably not, right? It takes a while to tunnel. But then again, if it's somebody that has a lot of money, yeah, they might tunnel to get evidence. So your floor, ceiling, walls, all things you have to consider. Door access with a locking mechanism, and that has to be done correctly. Secure container, visitors log. People working together should have the same access level. And brief your why is that? Should have the same access level. Like security access. Although it could be your physical access too. They worry about that in colleges for privacy purposes. We can't be working with somebody who doesn't have rights to see people's grades. Because if I'm working with them, I bring grades up, they're seeing everybody's grades, aren't they? And that's a violation. If you're working somebody in the lab and you're bringing up information that they don't have rights to see, then that potentially opens up lawsuits and so forth. Brief your staff about security policy. High-risk investigations demand more security than minimum lab requirements. Tempest facilities, electromagnetic radiation, EMR approved. Tempest facilities are very expensive. You can use low, assuming I'm saying this word right, emanation workstations instead. Tempest facilities. Tempest Academy. Probably won't be as easy just to see a cost. Uncontrolled distribution of secure information for governments, military, financial institutions can be caused through conducted wires and cables with radiation and equipment such as computers. First one is use specially designed Tempest computer systems, which comply with specifications. These Tempest computer systems are expensive. And product lifetime is limited. No, I don't see any kind of cost. Be nice if they gave you some kind of estimate on what do we mean by very expensive? $1 million, $50,000. What does expensive mean? I think the biggest one with a magnetic that we've seen in movies or TV shows. Remember Breaking Bad? Big magnet they had to destroy the laptop that was inside. Yeah. I love that show, and I love that episode because it's kind of computer related. And I don't know how realistic it is, but definitely if you had some money like El Chapo, if they had information stored on electronic media, if you could have some kind of device, it could potentially destroy the electronics inside, right?
My older stepbrother,
Mm-hmm.
he lives up by Atlanta. He has some of the quote unquote meth from the set of Breaking Bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can go to their site and they're selling all of the meth that they made. It's actually just raw candy. That's colored light blue. And they break it up, and you can actually buy some from the original set. So he actually has some, and then he has one of the aprons from that chicken restaurant. I can never remember the name of it.
Something Polo.
Yeah, something Polo, like Crazy Chicken or something like that. It's like El Pollo Loco.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyways.
Of course, I'm not saying that right. It's not Polo, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But he has one of the aprons from there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of the extras was wearing it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's probably the best example of where you need to worry about those items. Evidence containers, also known as evidence lockers, must be secure so no authorized person can access the evidence. That's obvious. Recommendations for securing it: locate them in a restricted area, locked room. Limited number of authorized people to access the container. You don't want to give everybody access. Maintain records on who is authorized to access each container. Container should remain locked when not in use. Laptops. Just talking about secure. I put a laptop out for you this morning so you could use it. Who do I give access to the laptop cart? Myself, right?
Does anybody else have access?
Other instructors do, in IT, of course, but it's very limited. I keep it in the room in there, so it's a locked room. It's a locked laptop cart, locked room. They're going to secure it even more, take the wheels off, and and I guess it's like I forget how many pounds they said it was, like huge amount. And they said nobody's going to carry this off. And when I taught at Butler, this was quite a few years ago, but they had a laptop cart, and most of the time the laptop cart was unlocked when I went in there. They were supposed to lock it, but they wouldn't. And students would come up themselves, get a laptop, and sign a sign-out sheet. And then when they returned the laptop, they were supposed to mark, that they returned the laptop. His idea is, what happens to laptops? They can get lost. They develop legs and walk off. Whether it's intentional or not, some people may not even think. They just put the laptop in their bag and leave, and not even think anything about it. I did not want to go through a process like this, where you'd have a sign-out sheet, where you'd have to, worry about all that. So by doing it myself, I control that. Combination locking systems used provide same level of security for the combination as the container's contents. No need to have a huge level of security if what's inside isn't secure. Destroying previous combinations after setting up a new combination. Allow only authorized personnel to change lock combinations. Change combination every 6 months or when required. If you're using a keyed padlock, appoint a key custodian, stamp sequential numbers on each duplicate key, maintain a registry listing which keys assigned to each authorized person, conduct a monthly audit, take an inventory of all keys, place keys in a lockable container, maintain the same level of security for keys as for evidence containers, change locks and keys annually. Do not use a master key for several locks. I got 3 keys to get into this room. The outside door, the classroom door here, and then the doors for the closet in my office. They use the keys to secure different rooms. They don't want me necessarily going into the security, or the server room. So my key doesn't work in the server room. I tried, for a reason. They needed access. It's like, I don't have the key. And the person who runs the facility here, she was gone that day. So I told them we just need to come back. And they didn't like that. But again, keys, you got to plan some kind of scheme. Who are you going to give access to what? What I don't understand is that some of the keys, they don't even give me keys to like the where the closet is for the cleaning equipment. I haven't tried here, but they did in Mulvane. So if I want to get the vacuum out, if there's a spill, they never gave me rights to open that door. So whenever there's just something like that on the floor, I just leave it. So what are you, filthy pig? Clean up after yourself.
Can I have access to the cleaning
Yeah. Mind you, I've never complained, but I always find that interesting. And they're sitting there in meetings, planning all this, hours and hours. Well, do we give faculty, the key to the cleaning closet and so forth? I held a webinar, first one, as far as I know, that Cali held. I guess it just created a slew of meetings I never even knew about. A lot of decisions to be made. So. Containers should be made of steel with an internal cabinet or external padlock, and it's obvious why it's made of steel. How about the padlock? Is that important? They don't say it, but yeah. some padlocks you can just cut with a bolt cutter, right? Why make it steel? It's just like,
Titanium reinforced.
yeah, if you're going to put a padlock under you can cut with a bolt cutter, then defeats the entire purpose. My dad brought home some a lock I had for the longest time that you could not cut with a bolt cutter. I don't know how you'd end up cutting it, if you lost the combination, but
Yeah, that would be a good deal.
I think they used to use, some. Yeah, spinning saws.
Yeah, that's true.
if possible, acquire a media safe. What do you think's unique about a media safe? Best media safe.
Like, what would be the best media safe for?
Right. My son came in a week ago, and I was in my office, and he was vacuuming, and he pushed the vacuum next to the computer I have on the floor down there. And it's just like I was ready to yell. I'm like, "What in the H word are you doing?" Just put that magnet right next to my computer. But I thought it was my wife, so I was getting ready to holler at her. But then I saw it was my son. I knew he didn't know better because I hadn't told him. Got to worry about things like that, right? Because the idea of a media safe is that you can't destroy the evidence. What else would you have to worry about?
Somebody gaining access.
Gaining access, yeah. How about fire?
So losing that data.
Right. So if there's a fire around a media safe, there's windows in my lab, and I throw gasoline and set the room on fire to destroy all the evidence. Hopefully, that media safe would allow the hard drive or whatever not to be destroyed, right?
Right.
It wouldn't get so hot inside that destroy the evidence. So yeah, different things with a media safe that you'd hope that.
I've seen before. It's not exactly media safe, but it'd be cool if they made a media safe similar to it.
Mm-hmm.
You slot drives into it, and then you have like software you download, and it's like I guess kind of like a firewall. It just doesn't allow you access without you doing a password. So anything you plug into it, it has a USB, and you can connect it to your PC. It just if you don't have the password, you can't get it, use that data. Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, event of fire, protect your media. And this is not just for it's like a small one's about $500. Larger one maybe $10,000. I saw where they were talking about their not just fire, but there's also water. I never thought about water. But these may be more than just for computer forensics. When I worked at IFR, we would send our backups to the salt mines is it Hutch? Where's those salt mines? Is it in Hutch? And so presumably salt mines underneath the ground, I'm assuming. That they're not in a floodplain. But if they were in a floodplain, that they'd have special devices like this that would protect them from the water. Is it really far down?
Yes.
So, I never have been there. I know that's where we send all of our backups, and I think that's where a lot of places they contract with them to store our backups there. So, yeah, you won't go to a company typically and see like this huge media safe. That it's cheaper, it's more efficient to contract with places like that. Let's see. Build an evidence storage room in your lab. Keep an evidence log. Updated every time an evidence container is open and closed. See, overseeing the facility maintenance, immediately repair physical damages, escort cleaning crews as they work. Again, that's a big one right there. We've already talked about that in a previous class. Is if you want to break in someplace and get a lot of access, well, just join a cleaning crew. Minimize the risk of static electricity. You got anti-static pads, clean floor and carpets. Clean floor and carpets. I wouldn't agree with that. I'd say no carpets. When the production floor at IFR, they had to worry about static electricity. Static electricity can reduce the life of your electronics, or it can even destroy it, depending upon the level and your exposed electronic device. And so the production floor had no carpeting. They'd never put carpeting out there. In some places they had mats you stood on, and the mats you stand on again dissipate the static electricity. Everybody had to wear these blue coats. You had to have them buttoned or zipped. Buttoned. Had to have them buttoned. If they were unbuttoned and you're walking around with your coat for whatever reason, and I'm not a static electricity expert, but for some reason that was a violation of reducing the static electricity. And then the people that worked on the devices, they had a wrist band that they would then attach to metal. And you have to have, I went through listened to a video on ESD, all the discharge and so forth, how to not damage electrical devices and so forth. And so again, you have to have that training, have to understand what you're doing. If I was going to work on those computers, what would be my steps to protect myself against the static discharge? Or not myself, but protect the equipment.
I use the anti-static bracelet.
Anti-static bracelet.
And I plug in my power supply but leave it turned off.
Exactly.
And you can clamp yourself to it.
Right. Make sure, and those are the exact correct steps. If you don't have it plugged in, then I suppose it might help a little bit, but not. Yeah, you're not grounded. Yeah, so it doesn't really accomplish anything. Have to be grounded to metal. There's plastic parts on computers, so attach to the plastic, and you're not doing it. Again, you can't have your computer on because that way you can give yourself nasty shock. But
yeah, Zarius, who's been here. He grounded himself. I don't remember what he told me he grounded himself to. I think he said he grounded himself to a hard drive, and it wasn't plugged in or anything. I was like, he didn't ground himself because I let him borrow that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that. I said, what'd you ground yourself to? And it was his metal hard drive, not his SSD.
And to be honest, I didn't have a wrist strap until recently. I bought one maybe 2 months ago, because I do work on my computers at home sometimes, but I didn't care because I like to get a new computer every year or two. I don't want them to last forever, so me damaging it so it doesn't last 10 years. I don't want it to last 10 years. I want it to last 1 year and then I buy a brand new one. I got in that shape way back when. I had this old computer I kept on trying to get going, and I'd have to sit there and bounce it up and down in the mornings to get the hard drive to kick in. I decided I never want to do that again.
I just build them to where they have quite a bit of upgradability.
Oh.
Like I'll buy a motherboard that supports SLI, so if my graphics card isn't outputting it like the optimum performance I want to, just buy a second one, and then run an SLI so that I get twice the performance.
That's it. When they told me I was going to be doing teaching hardware repair next year, That's when I had to get the wrist strap.
Yeah.
And some of those devices we to design circuits in here. I know they need to be on a pad. You know, they need that in addition to the wrist strap. And but it'll get there eventually.
I've seen, like, I'm not sure if this is, I've seen them before. They're anti-static mats.
Right.
You build everything on, but you plug them in, and you can ground yourself through that.
Yeah, you can play. There's like it's like a off of a button that you can. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't have one of those. That'd be really cool.
Because I'm not even sure if these electronic circuit boards we got, I'm not even sure if they're metal. So I feel the side, and it's like I'm not sure if this is metal or if it's some kind of hard plastic. So I'm not even sure if I could attach myself. There's no place to really attach the wrist strap to. I'm not even sure if I'd be grounded. Maintain 2 separate trash containers, materials unrelated to investigation, sensitive materials. When possible, hire specialized companies for disposing sensitive materials. We're out of time, so we'll stop there. And next time we'll continue on this unit.